Good morning, everybody. Good morning. What's going on? How y'all doing? Happy Monday. Good to be back. Good to be back. Good morning, Corey, Chris, Shadow, Jeremy, Greasy, Benton, Will, David. How's everybody doing? Hope y'all had a good end of your week last week. As y'all maybe saw, I posted in the community tab in YouTube and on the Discord that I had two good trades Thursday and Friday. I think it was Thursday's trade. It went directly to the middle of the daily fair value gap. And those are the best longs. We had a sell-off, went right down to the middle, had a nice market structure shift, went right up exactly to the midpoint of a 15-minute fair value gap, and they kept going down. It was just beautiful. So good. You're going to fade top step. That's Patrick Whelan's strategy. If he goes one way, he checks top step to make sure they're not going the same way. All right. So let's start off with new week. So I marked out last week's high and low. All right. Not much really to see here on the weekly chart. Not much. But the daily chart, this is where last week I was like, I want to see if we have this fair value gap right here, if we create a new one and try to push or not, and try to continue to push up to all-time highs, or do we start inverting those fair value gaps? So here on the daily chart, as you can see, Friday, that sell-off, we inverted this fair value gap. So today, I want to watch and see, do we immediately rebalance this here and trade back up to the low of this wick, which would be, what's that low? 950.75 right here, which would be the midpoint of this inversion now. Do we trade back up there and immediately rebalance this? If we do, then I'll be neutral on my overall bias. If we leave this open and leave a fair value gap overlapping this inversion, then I'll have to switch to bearish and see if we run out last week's low, as you can see, and if we keep going further down or not. As you can see, if I measure out this wick right here that reached down, look at the midpoint right here, mean threshold. Friday went right to it. So if I was trading Friday late, that's where I'd be watching. So we hit it. Now today I want to see if we make this rebalance or not. And also, I do want to see if we push up to the low of this inversion as well. That'll be interesting to see. All right, so let's drop down to the 15-minute. If my chart will do it. We do have, at the moment, I would look at this low as a bit of a sell side liquidity, but then we have this new week opening gap right here. All right, we got the new week opening gap, and then this low, which is Friday's low. So I'll be interested to see if we take this area, sweep this area, and continue up, or first if we go up to the low of this inversion, which also has a 15-minute fair value gap right there, and we have current immediate buy side liquidity here. So you can see there's relatively equal highs. That's London high. So do we come up and sweep here and go continue down to remain bearish or to switch bearish? Or do we sweep the low first and trade back up and rebalance, immediately rebalance that potential bearish fair value gap? So that's going to be key. Let's check real quick what news we have for this week. This week we have, let me just bring it over so we can look at it together. Tomorrow, okay. GDP on Thursday. G20 meetings start Thursday. All right, so no major. I mean, yes, there's high impact news, but no major news such as um, CPI, NFP, things like that, which is the end of the month, so we're not going to typically have that. But you always got to check just in case. All right. Now, as you can see, let's go back. Oh, we are on the 15-minute here. As you can see, there's no fair value gaps in here, right? Now, we had this buy side liquidity. At the open here, we reached up and created another relatively equal high here. So there's even more buy side liquidity being engineered here. If we do continue down, I would really have a high belief that we'll sweep down here, run into this new week opening gap, maybe even sweep previous day low, and then make a run back up here. Because we got so close up there. Like, it's not going to just, I mean, it could just run away from there, but I don't see it doing that. And if you look at the 5-minute, same thing, reached up. I mean, the probabilities of it coming down here are extremely high, by the way. Like, but which side does it go to first? That's the question. And since I look for reversals, I have really good reasons for it to go either long or short today. So I have to wait for it to reach to one side and then go for the other. All right. So we have 931. This is technically the first presented fair value gap at 931 right there. This 15-minute fair value gap, I was in between adding it or not because price was already right here and price already closed it. So, like right here. So I wanted to see, I just added it just to see if price did anything in it or if it comes back and acts as an inversion or anything. But I'm going to get rid of it since not much really happened. All right, so we're sweeping London low here. And the new week opening gap, the high of it. Actually, let's see if we have a new or an opening range gap. Yeah, we have the opening range gap here. So we have the open right there. We have the close down there. There we go. We reached through the midpoint of it. So we'll see if we continue down or not. Good morning. Good morning. Yep. So, got a little pop-up over here. There we go. So we'll see. Is this all it needs? It could definitely go further down. It could definitely come down further to 650s. So at this point, just wait. Just wait. We have this fair value gap overlapping there. So I'd like to see this get swept. And then, depending on how far it goes, I may want to see this get inverted again and trade above that first presented fair value gap. But we'll see. And there's no news today either. So this is a day that it could just keep going one way. So as we wait, y'all know I was out of town for my son's basketball regional tournament, and we won the championship for our JV division. So that was exciting. Now in a couple weeks, we'll go to nationals and see if we can get a national title. We'll see. But you know, prime reason actually right now the flyers showing is Edge Trader VPS. I got all set up on my VPS because if you're trading from a hotel room or if you travel or do anything like that, the first day I completely forgot. And it was a good trade and I could have held it for longer, but I had a delay on that shoddy internet that I was like, man, let me cut this and take my profit at like 35 points because even when I was connecting before I got started, I got lost connection on my live account. So I was like, dang, that's I'm nervous. I was nervous, and I trade 20 accounts. So obviously it's gonna take a lot. And the hotel internet was only like 40. What was it? It was low. The data was low, and I was nervous. I was like, oh my gosh. And then my buddy Chris reminded me I have a VPS. I was like, oh yeah. So you just set that thing up, and I tested the speed on that VPS too. Lightning. So zero worries. It's good to have as a backup. All right, you see how look where the bodies are closing. All right, wicks, bodies are closing right here at this area. We'll see. I think what we may see is some little bit of accumulation here, and then a pop down, which could be a bullish order block, and then a price move up. Maybe we'll see. I'm just, there's just so I like to say them out loud while I'm streaming. That way, just kind of thinking out loud, basically. Like as soon as this shot up here, and closed and inverted this, like if you're really, 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 I'm sure there's a model that you could do this. If you're really confident it's gonna come down here, that would be a short right here. But obviously, that's not my trading model. Might be a slow one today. We'll see. This isn't really a big week. And then we had that Friday sell off. Let's see if we have anything here. See, this was all Friday. This whole sell off here. Reached up. And I was waiting for it. See, this is the long that I took right here. I mean, look how it hit the middle of this fair value gap. This is the daily. It's now an inversion, but this was the daily fair value gap. This was Thursday. I waited. We kind of had a sell off, but I waited. The best longs, if you don't know anything or can't remember anything at all, just know the best long trades come from the middle of a daily fair value gap. The first touch of the middle of a daily fair value gap are the absolute best longs you can find. And as you can see, hit the middle and came all the way back up here from the middle, 953 all the way up 245-ish. I traded it up. This the 15-minute. No, it's the 1 hour. So I traded it up to, there was a 15-minute fair value gap that recently formed. Traded it right up to that. So since we hit that midpoint, I'm expecting when we return back into it, that now we're going to fill the rebalance the entire fair value gap. And then whether we continue down or not, that's remained to be seen. But at Friday, as we came back into it, I had no doubt that before the end of the day, we'll see it trade all the way through. There you go. Chris got your question there, Erland. He's the pro. He's the owner of Edge Trader VPS, actually. And Chris is definitely a tech guru. Sometimes I'll ask him something like, hey, blah, 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 and he gives me the answer. I'm like, so what does that mean? What does that mean? I don't know. He'll break it down for me. So, Erlen, you actually wouldn't be accessing your Windows computer, your actual Windows computer. A VPS is basically like having a Windows computer that you can access from anywhere. Shadow. So, like it's like in the cloud, right? Like the cloud, it's a server, and it's basically like a super powered Windows computer on the cloud on the server, right there close to Chicago CME data point, and basically always has a runtime, like a guaranteed 99% runtime or more, whatever it is, and you can access it literally anywhere from almost any device, any other Windows computer or a Mac, like Chris said. So like I know Mac users always have trouble with NinjaTrader and copying and all that. If you're a Mac user, I mean, you definitely need a VPS. All right, I'm watching this 1 minute fair value gap right here. See, we reached the opening range gap low right here. We left a little bit between that and the new week opening gap, the midpoint of it. So do we just run up? At this point, I'm not totally convinced. We may trade right here. We may trade right here and reach back up to this and drop, but I wouldn't use this fair value gap as a long. I would not, is what I'm saying. We also have, if I go to the 5, we have a fair value gap here. So I'd actually prefer to see this get inverted first if I took a long. Also because we left it got so close to the midpoint of that new week opening gap. I think this one gets inverted, to be honest, and it comes down further. I don't trust this at all yet. Yeah, VPS or new computer. Like I said last time, I used a VPS for about a year before I built my computer. Because when I got into trading, like that's what my mindset is, right? Like I know everything has an investment, right? An initial upfront cost. But I wanted to keep my costs as low as possible and use profits to grow. Use profits to get more accounts. Use profits to build a computer. Use profits like as much as I can. Obviously, you're going to have startup costs for any business. But that was just kind of my way of thinking. There we go. See, and that's why I didn't trust this 1 minute fair value gap for long. It just got too close there to not go down. It reached up into this 5 minute fair value gap. But again, I'm not looking for continuations, especially when I really don't have much of a reason for price to continue lower than this. Like it could, but I don't really have that much of a reason for it to continue under this area. Let's go to the 1 hour. We have a lower new week opening gap down here, so it might keep going down last week's low, but I think we sweep here and head up to this inversion and test that. Could be wrong, but that's kind of what I'm envisioning right now, especially because there's not much news and no news for today. So it's kind of what I'm thinking. So what do I do from there? Or from here? I wait till we sweep areas and I wait for inversions like this 1 minute fair value gap right here. I'm just marking out the PD arrays now and waiting for them to get disrespected. And if they don't, and it just keeps running short, by 10:30, I'm done. Capital preservation, mental preservation, no harm, no foul, no red. Yeah, if you do travel, Erland, I definitely, anybody that travels, 100% get a VPS, because my biggest fear trading on the road is being in a trade and hearing these two words: connection lost. Oh my God. Hey, anybody listening, if you see that flyer, you use code BEAST, you'll get 20% off first month and recurring months. All right, now we're sweeping potentially. Like I said, we may come down, but I'm just going to wait. If we do, cool. If not, I'm waiting for inversions. Left a lot of buy side liquidity up here. London high, sweeping London low. And I'll look to see if this bar is a potential bullish order block if we can close above it. Unless we keep creating more down bars, of course. Yeah, Greasy. So I would typically have evals just copied to my funded accounts and just don't even think about them. I do go more aggressive though. I will say that. Like I do go more contracts. For sure. On my evals. Like Greasy asked if I trade the evals the same way as my funded accounts. So I do. I go very heavy, pretty heavy on my evals. So because if you get a 60-point trade, 50-point trade with 5 minis, you're gonna make some money. Obviously, you don't ever want to do that on a funded account. But yeah, I take more risk on the eval. Traveling to Thailand in a couple of weeks. Sweet. Business or pleasure? Seen a lot of people that I know go to Thailand and they post pictures and videos. Looks pretty awesome. All right, and at this point, again, we're so close to this area. Like it could stop, but it's in the middle. It's in the middle of nowhere, right? So like at the moment, with it being in the middle of nowhere, does it really just stop in the middle of nowhere? And if it does, is there something to the left that's being missed? And then I just go to higher time frames to see. So it's that new week opening gap right here. But then there's also, oh, that got inverted already. Never mind. So we have this low and then this low. But then we have the midpoint right here of the new week opening gap. Yeah. So if we keep going down mid here, let me try to see if I can make this larger. Right here in this 570 area. Then we got the middle 520. Then we got the low, last week's low. Oh, and I just noticed this. We had a 1 hour volume imbalance right here as well in that opening range gap. So yeah, once we reach any of these areas right here, then I'll be looking to see if we get a reversal, market structure shift, any 15-minute fair value gaps, and just kind of monitor. At this point, like, I'm not expecting a whole lot, but if we get something awesome, okay, we have this 4 hour gap that never, like, it got traded through, but it never got closed through. Let's see what that looks like. Yeah, it looks like we're gonna still have, we have 3 minutes. So it looks like we're gonna probably invert this one. In 2-3 minutes. Then this one, which is the new week opening gap. Not loving today. Here's our lowest 1 minute fair value gap now at this point. So what I do too is, if I do get a market structure shift, inverts a fair value gap, the whole setup that I look for. At this point, we've dropped quite a bit, right? Like through that through this area. This area here, where I said that I'd be looking for price to go down to, if it does go down, I would be looking for a sweep and along here, right? But since it's continuing down, I no longer believe today, anyways, maybe late afternoon, who knows, but not during my morning session. I no longer believe we're going to trade up through this buy side anymore. All right. So what I look for is, I'll measure, if we do get a market structure shift in my entry, I'll measure the range. All right. So this high down to wherever we stop. Let's say we stopped here. And I'll measure this range, and I will simply look to just go right back up to equilibrium, the middle of that range, or the first PD array after that. Like, that's all I'll look for. No longer will I think, we'll trade all the way back up there. So right here we have equilibrium, first PD array right here. That's what I would look for. Like, just as an example. And then you have the 5 minute fair value gap here that it may trade back to. But even though it already traded into it before it dropped, so it might not. But equilibrium is always safe. Typically. Not always. So here we have another little bitty fair value gap. Yeah, it's still early. It's not even 10 yet. It's barely about to be 10. So it very well could. It could run all the way through somewhere in this area, like I said, and then I'll just be looking to take it back up to a PD array, to something. Just if we get a clean enough market structure shift. Nothing crazy. 35, 40 points. Call it a day. Because what do we know? We do know price does not just go straight down forever. It'll pull back. So if you go to the 5 minute, this is where too you don't want to get too caught up looking at only the 1 minute. You want to be able to look at a little bit higher time frames and see what it looks like. As you can see, the 5 minute here, there's no pullbacks, right? Like, we were just selling off, just selling off. So eventually it's going to pull back somewhere. Well, we have this 5-minute fair value gap here. Could pull back up into there. We have that 4-hour now as an inversion. So I'll leave that there for now. And then 5-minute, I'll mark out this 5-minute. See, this is where my charts can start getting a little busy. And I hate that, but it is what it is. I have my financial juice running too, just in case. So if it does trade back up, pull back, where could it pull back? Well, the middle of the 5-minute fair value gap here. You know? We have a small 15-minute one up higher. I'll put it there. But this one up here, nothing crazy. It's kind of small. There we go. A little 1-minute one here. I'm not really concerned about that one getting inverted. This is where you want, this is where you want your inversions to happen. When price reaches for something. When it reaches, creates a fair value gap and then immediately inverts it. That's when you know, okay, price may be done for the moment. And that could be a bullish order block. And this is where you got to be patient. At this point, I would like to see it. Oh, we have a lower. We have quite a bit of new week opening gaps down here. So see how far this thing wants to go. Yeah, not much happening. Just watching this thing run. Let's see. There's last week's low. Yeah, I was you hear it? So I've been playing with SPX options credit spreads. And it's been like 2.5, 3 weeks, and I have not taken a loss on it on one. And I literally just opened a trade and closed it, made 100% on this. It's pretty wild. I don't even want to get into it, but it's crazy. Like Chris, that one I just did a spread, called the bottom of this on the SPX and made 100% on it. It's kind of crazy. Yeah, I wasn't sure if y'all would pick up on that sound or not. That's funny. Yeah, credit spreads are just like you're just basically saying, hey, as long as price doesn't trade or close below or above, depending on which way you go, a level, and as long as that happens by the end of the day, then you make your money. Like you keep your profit that you made. They credit you. Yeah, I'm watching. We'll see. We're so close to last week's low though, right now, and the new week opening gap. This new week opening gap, which it looks like that's the midpoint of this one, which I didn't mark it. But anyways, we're so close. You got to be careful though. Just like up here earlier, you got to be careful. It doesn't want to go down further and get there. So it might hit this 1 minute and then come down and sweep that. Might get it longer. What are you talking about, Chris? Last week, 2 weeks ago. Oh, what? 649.75 is last week's. What low you talking about? Talk about my new week opening gap? Oh, maybe I forgot to remove. Oh, I probably forgot to remove my old one when I marked it. That's probably what's going on. I see what y'all are talking about. Yeah, because see, I marked this one and I forgot to remove that one. That's all that is. See? So we got to remember that stuff. No, that's my old one I didn't remove. So that's a couple weeks ago. No, today's Monday, so when I went in, I marked my new one, the high and low right here, and all I did was forget to remove that one. That's all that happened. But we are very close still to this new week opening gap here from the second. So I want to make sure, although it may not go there, that's the midpoint of this one from the second. So it may not go there. But we'll see. We got this new 1 minute fair value gap. And we have this one here. So we'll see if this one gets inverted. I'm just trying to avoid creating so many lines on my chart. We have this one. So does it invert this one? We have a 5-minute here as well that we're reaching up into. Does it invert this 5-minute? Or does this area hold and then push us even lower through the rest of this new week opening gap? So we'll see. Yeah, I went ahead and did that, extended all of them because I got tired of just pulling them over and then keep pulling them over. And then the main reason why I extended it is for the higher time frames. So that way you can see on the right what they are. Because if I had them in the middle, a lot of times you wouldn't see what fair value gap that is. And if people don't know my color coding here, then you won't know which ones they are. All right, it's 10:13. You see, we're trying to push through this area. Got another fair value gap, a 5-minute right here as well. I'm not going to mark all of it, but we're about to get this 15-minute one. Here, let me do this. I'm going to get rid of all these little 5-minute ones. We're inverting that one. I'm going to get rid of this one. I'm going to get rid of this one. And we're about to get this 15-minute one right here. But this is still, oh, that's 9:45. Never mind. But yeah, we're about to, in 20 seconds, 25 seconds, we're going to get this one here. 15-minute. So now I want to see if we do reach up to the midpoint of it or to this 4-hour inversion. That'd be kind of like targets if I did go long. Make sure we get this here in a few seconds. And then you see the wick, how it reached all the way down. So we may be getting ready to continue up. Created the 15-minute. We'll see if we reach back down to this one or if this continues to hold as an inversion. We have a little bitty fair value gap right here. Let's see, this area is 549. This low is 438. That would be a ginormous stop loss. So I'm going to wait. Like, could be along here. And just have a stop like underneath. Still big. This area 558, 560, and underneath here has 40 points. It's a big stop loss. And then now that we have this high, we have this low. Equilibrium is right here. So this midpoint, there's a little fair value gap here, right where that midpoint is. So yeah, this 619 to 630 would be a target area. But I want to wait and just make sure that this, I mean, we did invert that 5 minutes, so that's good. But I do want to see it hold as support in this area before I consider a long. And you see how we tapped this 15-minute fair value gap right here. The low of that fair value gap is at 436.75. The high of this wick. Wait, that's not right. The high 580.75. And then the high of this wick, 580.75. So tapped it to the tick. So like, yeah, I want to be careful. Especially requiring such a big stop loss here. So I want to see if we build some support up in here. If not, do we build some support right in this area here? It's a little inversion right here. Let me mark it out. So yeah, I want to see some support somewhere in this area. Yeah, today's a day where if you weren't short somewhere in here, then this is a day where you could get like take like a board trade and mess things up. So we're hitting this inversion right at the midpoint here. In this 5-minute, here, let me go ahead and mark both. I mean, I just hate so many lines. Get rid of that. If we reach down into this 1-minute fair value gap down here, I don't know if we get that far down, but if we do, even from there to the low is 493 to this swing low. It's like 50 points. But see how this one reached into that 15-minute fair value gap here. Now it's basically continuing. It may continue down through these lows. I'm just going to wait and see. I'm not loving anything right now. I mean, we already closed. Look at this. This inversion, we closed in the lower half already. So I don't like it. Reach back up into this fair value gap. Let's see if we continue dropping. If you're bearish, like if you're actually really bearish, this would be the area to short right here. Off that 15-minute in this fair value gap. And I would look to take it through this low here. If you're really bearish, I'm not either way at the moment. So and it's 10:20 now. So let's see. However, if we invert this one, because we're still inside this 5-minute inversion, I will be watching this to see if we invert. Because if we trade back up through this and invert it, get an actual market structure shift here with a fair value gap, a bullish one, then we may take it up here to this area. It may run up there. So and if that doesn't happen and we trade through this, so basically here's where I'm at. If we trade through this 1-minute fair value gap, close down below it, I'm calling it a day. Here, let's also check out this wick right there. Here's the midpoint, 502.25. I'll leave that there. Oh, it's right there, 502.25. Gonna remove that. Which if it does invert this one, this fair value gap right here. Oh, it already inverted that one and then reclaimed it. Then it'll be inverting again. Well, it's not an inversion yet. Let me make sure I mark it right for anybody watching. There we go. You can see the wicks where the bodies are closing. Always watch where the bodies are closing. I basically want displacement through here. So, I mean, even from around this area right here, 570, 580, 590, up to here, I mean, that's a good 40 points. That's all I need every day. Got about 5-10 minutes. If we don't get displacement up, then that'll probably be it for me. Yeah. On a Monday, when it starts getting this late in the morning, I mean, yeah, moves can happen between 10:30 and 11, but if it's not really showing anything, then it'd probably come in the afternoon, if so, if anything at all. But okay, here we go. Let's see. This held here, but let's see. We have this inversion. We have this 1 minute fair value gap. Like I said, if we close below this, I'm done for sure. which I'm not really too concerned about this inversion though. This is the main area, this 1 minute fair value gap. See, and this is that midpoint of that wick right here. This orange line, 502 is 25 of that 15-minute wick. Is anybody taking any trades yet today? Took a sell. Nice. Yep, sells one today. Nice. Made 350 on 3 PA accounts, 450 on the fourth one. Sweet. Yeah, Rem, I think this not very convinced we go up. But we'll see in this area right here. Yeah, there's a bearish fair value gap after the open. This first one way up here never came back to it though. Never touched it. This was most likely a bearish order block right here. Never reached back up into any of it. Just sold off. We haven't reached this one. I mean, we're on that midpoint of that wick from the 15-minute, but I think we're just kind of accumulating a little bit here, and I'm pretty sure this will get inverted and will continue lower. At this point, I don't see any reason why it would trade up, especially since it reached into this 15-minute fair value gap just a little bit, just enough to continue down. However, right here, all this in the middle, I'm not really concerned about. Like, I don't care what it really does here. All I care about is what it does right here in this 1 minute fair value gap at this low and then at this high. Nothing much in between concerns me much. But yeah, I don't like the price action right now either anymore. So, and it's 1032, 1033. It's not really giving me much. So it's going to be a no trade day for me. Basically, the move of the day was the draw down into that new week opening gap. I guess the move of the morning, I should say. No real displacement, just to sell off. I had nothing. Nothing looked good for me. Nothing fit within my model. So can't take a trade. If it doesn't fit my model, can't take a trade. Yep, here we go. Let's see if we reach down here. And remember, when you see one bar reach for something like this, if it reaches down into this fair value gap and then get a close back above it, that would be a bullish order block. So that's what I'm constantly looking for. But I still don't like anything right now. See you, Shadow. Yep, same here. It's time for me to hop off. So don't like anything. Time to shut it down. Call it a day. Got 4 more days this week. So that's what I'm going to do. Unfortunately, just makes for a boring stream, especially today. There wasn't really much to read or call out. So it is what it is. Happens sometimes. Trading is boring. Keep it that way. That's how you make money. Anyways, all right, y'all. So I'm going to hop off here. Hope everybody has a great day. I'll see y'all tomorrow. And as always, trade well. See you later.
Sorry.